Welcome back in. This segment of the Sports Source brought to you by Games and Things. The holidays are here. That means it is time to start stuffing stockings. And no one has better stocking stuffers, better options for Christmas gifts, big, small, or gift cards. That's always the easiest. I love the gift card. They got them all at Games and Things. Stop by their showroom this week. It's right where Kingston Pike meets Lovell Road. Their slogan is, because life should be fun. You walk into that showroom, I promise you, you're going to feel, wow, this is fun in here. It is like a big playroom. From home theater seating to pool tables, pub seating, they got it all. Games and Things for your Christmas shopping. Okay, Florida lost to Missouri in overtime yesterday. That means Dan Mullen has gone from 10 wins to 10 wins to 8 wins, and everyone passed on the bowl game, to now his team just quit in the middle of the season. They quit right after that Kentucky loss earlier this year, and he has finished the SEC portion of his schedule at 2-6.
Wow.
The AD who hired him at Florida also was his boss at Mississippi State. So that might save him, perhaps, that he knows what he's capable of. But Florida is a program that is getting awfully close to the Tennessee level of spin cycle when it comes to just rolling through coaches left and right. They had an all-time great in Urban Meyer here in the last 20 years, and he won 2 championships. But that even ended in a dumpster fire. The off-field stuff fell apart on him. My question is, all this turmoil at Florida, if you're Tennessee, doesn't that speed up your return to glory? If you've got a path to rebuild, doesn't it go through Gainesville in some setting?
Yes. I mean, we've talked about it a lot of times. The teams that you're ahead of, you still got to keep beating, but you got to climb past 1 or 2 if you're going to compete for championships. Those 2 teams right now and have been Florida and Georgia. So yes, of course. I mean, it has to, in my book.
Yeah, you have to overtake Florida. They've been your one team and consistently over the last 10 to 15 years that has been your Achilles heel. I remember playing even with Marlin, who can't make it today, that crushed our season when we had College Game Day here, and their rain, and we were going into it, and they just crushed us. So I, for one, can't wait to see Florida go down on the list for what they did to us in our time there, and then that gets you one step closer. You can recruit with that to go in there and say, hey, it's Georgia and us. You can play for an SEC championship each year with us.
And I think Daniel hit on it a little bit. That's where it could help Tennessee in that recruiting thing. Because every year when Tennessee loses to Florida, it just seems like it's a negative news cycle for 2 weeks. And Tennessee is always sort of the butt of the joke and all that stuff. So if you could catch them, I think that sort of helps you in ways just not directly related to beating Florida. Or not directly related to Florida itself. I think it could help you in a lot of ways if you could catch them.
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, to play the media guy being negative, imagine if Tennessee doesn't beat Florida next year. It's going to be a home game in Knoxville, and the build-up's going to be huge. I can go ahead and tell you, we all know it's going to be a huge build-up to the game because Tennessee will have a good chance to beat Florida for the first time in several years and the second time in a decade and a half. If you don't, well, then what's the reaction going to be? Whether that's Dan Mullen still there or a first-year coach coming in to win the game. So the opportunity would be big if you can beat Florida because you've shown that you are as good or better than everybody else besides Georgia in the East. But if you don't beat Florida, it's going to bring up, okay, where are we as a program?
If you're Tennessee, though, you're looking at it, it's like they're going to have to prove that they're consistently better than Kentucky, Carolina, and Missouri. But I do think, we were wondering before this year, we were saying you have to jump those programs. Right. I think with Heupel's system, what we're seeing is you're at worst going to be even with those programs. Yeah, so as Chuck said, there's only 2 rungs above you now, Florida and Georgia. And Florida isn't, they went 4-7 the year you went 4-8 and fired Butch Jones. That program, we talked about this last night, I think it has been an overrated program. And part of that may be
because it's in Florida.
You're located in Florida.
And, boy, you don't even have to get in an airplane to go recruit. You just drive around, get every player you need.
And the amazing thing is Florida has lost 7 straight one-possession games. And they're now 2-9 in their last 11 against Power 5 teams. Does somebody survive that? And then that just has to really hurt them too.
But here's what I'm getting at. If you've got a program that never won before Charlie Pell, and it didn't. I mean, Doug Dickey left Tennessee to go back to it and didn't win. Charlie Pell was the first guy to win at Florida. Cheated, got blown up. Galen Hall went down the same way. Steve Spurrier, all-time great, comes in there, wins a national championship, just dominated the SEC. It was a two-team SEC, but he dominated it. Then he went to South Carolina and won there too. I mean, there's no questioning his credentials. Zook, no. Meyer came in, another all-time Mount Rushmore type coach, but it was just short-lived fling, and it burned up in the end.
Yeah.
Then you got McElwain, Muschamp, Mullen. That is not the, well, that's a top 10 job. You can do it. Look, can you
no
win
more
there?
coaches
Yes.
whose name starts with M.
Yes, really.
But I just, to me, if I'm a Tennessee fan, I'm looking at this Florida thing hoping they fire Dan Mullen.
Yes.
Please do it. Please roll the dice. Now, they could land on somebody good, but history says the more you spin that dial, the worse your program gets. Look at this one here. If
Yeah.
I'm Tennessee and I'm looking at this and they go off the rails and panic and fire Mullen, I'm feeling pretty good because now there's just Georgia ahead of me.
You know who
we
I-
should be even with Florida if they fire Dan
I
Mullen.
think you can compare Florida to Texas. Another school that everybody goes, oh, what a great program. And they fire their coach every 3 years.
Right.
So that's kind of where you are. Great state to recruit. Man, look at that. Fantastic. You got everything you need, but the coaches can't win. And like you said, the more you spin the dial, the more you spin the dial.
Yeah, and places like Texas and Florida as well, they look at it and it's like, well, you were good these last 2 years, but you had a down year, so we got to get
Yeah.
rid of you. They don't put up with one bad year, which I think feeds the downturn in the program.
Expectations are super high, and it's really hard to reach them year in, year out.
Yeah, Texas is a great comparison. I think that's, all the potential in the world is there for Florida, but it has still been overrated. You had two all-timers that had the wins. Nobody else has.
And even with Florida State and Miami being down, and a lot of other Florida schools
Yeah.
being down.
All right, very
And
good.
you hate to see it.
When we come back, we got our rapid fire questions. We're going to talk about bowl trips, bowl destinations, past VFL quarterbacks, and how they would have performed in Heupel's offense. Cedric Tillman, the run he's on right now, if you prorate that over a 12-game season, the numbers are pretty scary. Could he actually hit those next year? Come on back on the Sports Source.